Okay, so there's this trend going around called romanticizing your life, and for the longest time I genuinely thought it just meant lighting a candle, calling your coffee an oat milk latte, and sitting by a window looking wistful for absolutely no reason. Turns out it's actually kind of life-changing. And once I understood what it really meant, it completely rewired how I see my own chaotic ADHD, constantly restarting life. So I need to talk about it. Here's the actual truth hiding underneath the trend. You're the main character of your own life. Not in an arrogant, everyone revolves around me kind of way. In the very literal sense that you are the only person who experiences every single moment of your story from the inside. You're not an extra. You're not background noise in somebody else's plot. You are, whether you've noticed it or not, the lead role in the only movie you will ever actually star in. And most of us have been treating our own lives like filler content. We scroll through everybody else's highlight reel, their vacations, their glow-ups, their perfectly plated smoothie bowls, their 5 a.m. aesthetic mornings, and quietly start believing our own life, the one we're actually living, the messy one. The one with cold chai going untouched on the desk and 17 browser tabs open and plans that changed 4 times before lunch, isn't interesting enough to be the main storyline. We start treating it like the boring behind-the-scenes footage while everyone else apparently gets the highlight reel. But here's what nobody tells you about main characters. They're not interesting because their lives are perfect. They're interesting because their lives are messy, complicated, full of obstacles and plot twists and moments where everything looks like it's falling apart right before it finally comes together. Nobody's watching a movie about a character who wakes up with everything already figured out, stays perfectly consistent for 2 hours straight, and encounters zero conflict. That's not a movie. That's a nap. You know what actually makes a good story? Character development. And character development requires struggle. It requires the version of you from January who couldn't finish anything, and the version of you right now who's still trying anyway. It requires the plot twist nobody saw coming, including you. That's not a flaw in the story. Some of the best stories ever told don't follow a straight line either. Now, before you think this is about to turn into another toxic positivity speech, let me stop you right there, because that's not what this is. Romanticizing your life isn't about pretending everything's fine when it's not, and it's definitely not about performing happiness for an audience that isn't even watching that closely. It's not a filter. It's a lens. It's the difference between rushing through your life waiting for the next thing and actually being present enough inside it to notice it's happening at all. It's making the chai like it's a small ceremony instead of something you gulp down while doom scrolling. It's noticing the light coming through your window instead of walking past it for the 400th time without seeing it. It's talking to yourself the way a kind narrator would talk about their favorite character, instead of the way a harsh critic tears apart a rough first draft. Because here's the thing. If a stranger said to you every single thing you say to yourself on your worst days, you'd probably never speak to that person again in your life. So why do we let ourselves be the villain in our own narration? And honestly, for a brain like mine, romanticizing life looks a little different than the aesthetic version of the trend. It's not always candles and soft lighting. Sometimes it's giving my hyperfixation its own dramatic theme music in my head instead of feeling guilty about it. Sometimes it's narrating my own boring commute like a documentary voiceover, just for myself, just to make the walk more bearable. Sometimes it's treating the fact that I finally folded the laundry that's been sitting there for a week like a plot twist worth celebrating, because for my brain, that genuinely was a plot twist. You don't need your life to look aesthetic to make it worth noticing. You just need to actually be there for it instead of mentally halfway somewhere else the whole time. Let's also talk about the comparison trap for a second, because it sneaks in right when you're starting to feel good about your own story. You'll be having a genuinely nice, ordinary moment, and then you'll open your phone and see someone else's version of that girl morning routine, perfectly lit, perfectly paced, not a single dropped tab or forgotten task in sight. And suddenly your own beautifully imperfect life feels embarrassing by comparison. Here's what I need you to remember in that exact moment. Curated content is easy to make and easy to forget. Nobody rewatches someone else's smoothie bowl a year later and cries. But real, unfiltered, specific stories, the ones with actual texture and mess and honesty in them, those are the ones that stay with people. Your chaos isn't the thing making your story less watchable. It's the thing making it actually worth watching in the first place. I think about this a lot, honestly, especially with this channel. This whole thing started as basically me narrating my own chaos into a camera and calling it a digital diary. And for the longest time I thought that was just me processing things out loud, venting into the void. But now I realize that's literally what romanticizing your life looks like in practice. Not pretending the chaos isn't there. Documenting it. Giving it a voice. Treating the boring Tuesday and the hard week and the small, stupid, easily forgettable wins like they're actually worth writing down. Alhamdulillah, honestly, for a life interesting enough to even be worth telling. For a story with twists I never saw coming, for closed doors that turned out to be redirections in disguise, for the kind of narrative only something so much bigger than me could have written. I don't believe any of this unfolding, the hard chapters and the beautiful ones both, was random or wasted. I believe there's an author behind all of it, far wiser than I am, and my job was never to control every single scene. My job is just to actually show up and live the ones I've been given, instead of sleepwalking through them waiting for a better one to magically start on its own. Now I do need to say this part clearly, because I don't want to sell you a fantasy. Some days will not feel cinematic. Some days will feel like the cutting room floor, the footage that never makes it into the final cut. The version of you that forgot to eat, missed the deadline, cried in the bathroom for 10 minutes, didn't get out of bed until 2 p.m., and then quietly hated yourself a little for it. Those days are real, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you to just positively reframe your way out of a genuinely hard season, because that's not fair to you and it's not honest of me. But here's what I will say. Even the cutting room floor is part of making a movie. Growth happens off-screen constantly. Every montage you've ever watched, the one where the character is training, healing, rebuilding, quietly figuring it out, that's usually the part with the least dialogue and the most actual transformation happening underneath it. Your slow, hard, unfilmed days are doing more work on your character arc than you probably give them credit for. So you don't need every single day to feel like the trailer. You just need to keep showing up for your own story, even during the slow parts, even during the parts you'd honestly rather skip entirely. Here's what I actually want you to do with this. Today, right now, however chaotic or ordinary or half-finished this day already feels, I want you to look at it like it's a scene worth watching. Not perfect. Not polished. Just real and yours and actually happening in front of you. Notice one small thing today on purpose and let yourself actually enjoy it instead of rushing past it toward the next item on the list. Say one kind sentence to yourself the way you'd say it to someone you love. Let one ordinary moment feel a little bit sacred, even if it's just making your bed or watching the sky change color on your walk home. Small things add up into a life. And a life made of small, noticed, appreciated moments is still a beautifully told story, even if nobody's filming it but you. Because you're not an extra waiting around for your scene to finally matter. You're not background noise in somebody else's highlight reel, quietly hoping you'll get discovered someday. You are, and you have always been, the lead role in the one story only you get to live. Pick up the pen. Or better yet, pick up the camera. Start narrating, start noticing, start actually living like all of this, the chaos and the calm both, the hard chapters and the beautiful ones, is worth paying attention to. Because it is. And so are you. See you in the next scene.